I am ready to cruise. How about you? On today's show, we share the need to know for cruise ready travelers. Stay tuned for the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show. David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency. Welcome to the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel. So today it's all about cruising because I'm ready to cruise, and I'm going to cover the need to know for all you guys out there who want to travel soon, this summer, this fall. Obviously, 2022 will be back to normal. This is for the people out there that are dying to cruise. I have clients booked. And I've been doing my research because I'm sailing right here on the retreat on Celebrity Edge a week from today. Stay tuned for that. Lots of live feeds coming up all week next week. It's going to be unbelievable starting on Saturday, June 26th, because cruising is back. So today I'm going to go over current events, what's going on with the CDC, what's going on with the cruise lines, what's going on with vaccinations, what's going on with Florida suing the CDC and the cruise lines maybe suing Florida. I'm going to go over all that in a nice, simple way to make it clear to you guys what you need to know to cruise soon, this summer, this fall. As always, please like this wherever you're watching. I'm on multiple platforms today, and share it. It really helps us out. And leave a comment and subscribe to our Fantastic Endeavors YouTube channel where all of our shows are sit there in an archive called the Enjoy the Journey playlist. And I want to hear from you guys. Tell me your questions and what you need to know. What are you concerned about? Obviously, there's concerns in cruising. I'll cover a lot of them. And there are concerns if you're vaccinated versus vaccinated. And I'll cover that right now. So what's happening with the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, and what's happening with the cruises? And by the way, I'm already getting my fans in. Sherry says, hello. Hello, Sherry. What's going on? And Sherry's Barry Langston, one of my true big fans. And she's ready to cruise too, I believe. All right. So recently, the Center for Disease Control, under the authority of the federal government in the Public Health Services Act of 1944, oversees prevention of infectious diseases in the U.S. Why am I telling you all that? Because they do have the authority to set guidelines and regulate travel. To the level they have is in question. That will come up to the topic. But they have said travel warnings, and they have said that cruising has gone from a level 4, very high risk of COVID, down to a level 3. That just happened this past week. So good news. And the other thing that's happening is they have a CSO, conditional sale order, which was passed in October of 2020, or announced. Before it was no sale order. That was since March 13th, 2020, Black Friday, as I call it, where cruising was shut down for an indefinite amount of time. Then in October, they said, okay, well, you can set sail with these protocols without much definition and ridiculous amount of regulations in place that were not realistic for cruise lines to meet. They've done what they can. They positioned their ships right for travelers. Then they waited for more information from the CDC, which never happened until recently. Then recently they announced, okay, there's 2 options for you to sail under the CSO. First option is 95% of guests and crew vaccinated, and there's freedom. Not much other regulation on board the CDC imposes, but there will be self-imposed regulation by the cruise lines, reduced occupancy, the staff will wear masks, things like that. But overall, most of the guests will be vaccinated, the cast and crew, and it's going to be a pretty free and feeling cruise ship. I will be on Celebrity Edge, which that is their protocol. They decide to go from option 1 versus option 2, which is a lot of fine print. Why? Because there's a lot they have to do. And I'm going to go over the different cruises of who's doing what option. I'm going to go over at the end, so stay tuned, of the destinations you can sail this summer and this fall. Obviously, in 2022, you can sail anywhere because, again, it'll be a return to normalcy. That's what all indicators are showing us. But thank you guys for being on, because stay tuned. We're going to get into some destination talk soon. Going to end with an exciting video that really got a big hit last time in preparation for my cruise. And I'm going to talk about my cruise next week and what to expect on multiple live feeds starting next Saturday. So those are the two options. Option one, the stricter option, which is Celebrity and Carnival have announced this route. And then option two, which is stricter because you're going unvaccinated. And if you do, you have to do a test cruise. Guests have to wear a mask. That's been changing. Major social distancing on board, measures in place, and reduced occupancy. Some of these same measures are being self-imposed, but this is a CDC, mandate to return to cruising. Here's the way I see it so far. It's changing every day. Celebrity and Carnival Cruise, Carnival, the brand, have decided to go to option one. I'll be on an option one cruise. I'm vaccinated. We're good to go. It's going to be like a normal cruise experience on board. Celebrity already sailed the Millennium out of St. Martin, July 5th, with the numerous press on board, including people I follow online. That cruise went very well. A couple positive tests for COVID. It was handled very well. Protocols in place worked well. Protocols in action worked fine. Everyone had very positive things to say. That was a vaccinated cruise. The other option is Disney, Royal Caribbean, MSC, Norwegian, the other popular mass market lines are going the option two route, where they're doing test cruises with a few guests for free. Don't bother trying to sign up if you haven't already, because it turns out, I think it's just friends of staff members. Haven't heard much about it. So that's the issue. Which cruise you want to choose may depend. What are you most comfortable with? I'm vaccinated. I want to be with vaccinated people because I want as little rules as possible. I still got to fly with a mask. Don't care to. Disney just released all their mask requirements. Talked about that on my Disney show yesterday. And I want a free, easy feeling wherever I go. So I want the vaccinated cruise route. That's what I'm going to prefer. Celebrity is the first cruise sailing with paid passengers from a U.S. port on June 26th. I'm on the sailing next week right here in the retreat. And the reason I'm doing that is because it is the first, and they went the vaccinated route, so they didn't have to wait for more approvals. So these cruises are approved to sail. Let's keep that in mind as I talk about the current fight with the state of Florida, which is an ongoing discussion. And I do want to talk about, if you go on option two, keep in mind there's some issues. Again, option one, I'm going option one. I have no other testing to do. They're probably going to test us on board out of protocol and test us before we return for the U.S. Customs. That's fine. That's on them. I don't have to pay for that. A couple examples of what you have to do if you're unvaccinated and you choose to be that way, or maybe your health protocol says you have to be that way. And again, even option one leaves for a small exception. You have to apply those in advance. You can't just show up that way. You're still going to have to show proof of vaccination. It's not required still to show it. If you can't, you have to get tested. Royal Caribbean said they have a testing program, tested at the pier, tested on the ship, and retested like every day. You got to pay for that $136. Okay, well, that's part of the program. MSC has said there'll be numerous testing also. Haven't said if you have to pay for it. You have to be in like your own bubble shore excursions. Let me get out my notes here because it's very specific. Yeah, you can only do their shore excursions. And again, you're going to have to purchase also your test. And they're going to, encourage you to get a one-shot vaccination they're going to provide. So every cruise line has their own mandate. I will tell you right now that loyal cruisers, the crew especially, and the protocols where we visit want passengers vaccinated. You cannot leave this country right now without a vaccination as far as flying to somewhere else. Everyone in Europe, it's open to travel right now. Europe opened up this week, at least recommendation by the EU. Every country has their own protocols. That's for a different show. And I'll talk about Europe cruises at the end. But, to get other places right now by international air, you need a vaccination. And so the other ports of call who are small countries, mostly third world type in the Caribbean, who do not have great healthcare systems, do not want a cruise ship 100, 200, 400,000 unvaccinated people coming on to their island, even with this in place. So however you feel about getting vaccinated, that's your opinion. That's fine. I felt I need to get vaccinated because I know I need to travel internationally. and I need to do that for my business. Work like next week, a full week on a cruise ship, work to do live streams for you guys. Just do it just for you. So what does that mean? My tip is to get vaccinated, but there's a wrench out there. People talk about, what's going on with recent Florida suit against the CDC. And then the cruise line said, hey, we're going to allow vaccinated passengers. Governor's office says we're going to fine you if you do 5,000 persons. If I cost the cruise lines 5,000 person, so be it. I'm sure they'll win in court. Everyone I consulted prior to this recent news about the big Florida win, all the maritime lawyers I follow said this has no merit for cruise ships, international waters. It'll default to federal law, which is the CDC regulations. Okay. So the state law would be preempted, and any federal court would easily throw that out. So I don't think Florida, whatever they're up to, we're in the state of Florida, pro-business, anti-regulations, how it's been since October, and yet they put this crazy regulation that really hurts the cruise industry. At the very least, exempt the cruise industry. That's what everyone's saying. Now, news yesterday, Florida won in federal court in Tampa. Well, no, not really. Nothing about courts. It's never very clear. They sued saying the CDC does not have the authority to do this. They do, but they're making a good point that it's gone on too long and they're hurting the industry. The Tampa judge said, yes, we believe you could easily show harm here, and we believe the CDC has gone outside their bounds because of the time change of this. October 2020 and now June 2021, a lot's gone down in vaccines and regulations. We had no vaccines October 2020, and they said that needs to be updated. So they have given the CDC until July 2nd to come up with a narrow bound solution. They also told these guys to go back to mediate again, which hasn't worked so far. And then nothing changes until July 18th. So I know it's a big win for Florida for PR wise, but really nothing's going to change until July 18th, no matter what the CDC says July 2nd. If July 18th happens and nothing comes of the solution, and then the current CDC regulations just turn into recommendations like they are for airlines, buses, and other transportation, which is what it should be. It's supposed to just be a recommendation, like their level warning. I traveled parts around the state, weren't supposed to according to the CDC. I've had friends that traveled to Mexico multiple times, weren't supposed to according to the CDC. It's just a recommendation. Government warnings, it's just a recommendation. So the judge in the Florida made a good point. I think the CDC has overstepped their bounds. They're being a little bit too like a PR agency, but there's no clear-cut winner here. So let's just let it go and let them sail. Come on, Florida. Just say, hey, cruises are exempt because they're international, and they're under federal and international regulations. The countries they're sailing to want vaccinated travelers, and the CDC is recommending it. It's a requirement to prevent infectious disease to come back to this country. So please, let's be realistic. That's where it's at with the CDC. So let's talk about destinations. Let's talk about, I'm going to bring you guys up in the live feed real quick. Let's talk about where you can travel. And obviously, you've heard what you need to know. If you're not vaccinated, you need to research the protocols of that cruise line and be prepared to pay money for testing and take bubble shore excursions where they're from the cruise line and your escort. You can't be on your own. I've already booked shore excursions for Cozumel and for Costa Maya on my own. And in Nassau, I plan to walk around on my own. I don't need a shore excursion there. I used to date a girl there years ago. I met on a cruise ship, and I used to go there all the time. So I don't need an excursion there. I'll be walking around on my own. I won't be in a bubble because I'm taking a vaccinated cruise as a vaccinated traveler. So keep in mind that these cruises, option 2, that are for vaccinated travelers, that's different. You will not be under the same guidelines as an unvaccinated traveler. So again, option 2, MSC, Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Line. If you're vaccinated, it will be a lot easier. So don't just pick the cruise based on option 1, option 2, the CSO, the CDC conditional sail order. based upon your own comfortability and your status of being vaccinated. The bottom line is, and either way how you feel about this, your opinion, it's fine. Get vaccinated. It'll make travel anywhere much easier. Okay. All right, got some comments coming in. But I'm going to switch to comments real quick before I switch to talking about destinations. And I'll be live here and from the retreat next weekend on Celebrity Edge. Looking forward to that. The first cruise sailing with paid passengers from U.S. water since mid-March of 2020. I never thought I'd see the day. All right. Make sure I covered everything here. Yeah, next up is the top destination this summer. But I do want to talk about this. Yes, it made the news. Celebrity Millennium and the first cruise from North American waters, which is St. Martin, outside the U.S. Yes, even the governor of Florida can't affect other countries. Sorry, or other states. St. Martin went very well. All the PR on board I mentioned did such an amazing job. They said it was wonderful. They had some tests on board, people who were vaccinated, asymptomatic, and tested positive. It probably was a false positive. They isolated them. They did contact tracing. They used Circuit TV. They interviewed the guests, interviewed their friends, and then they isolated the other needed people. So there's protocols in place. We will not have a repeat of last year of these ships trying to find a golden port that will let them in. That was so sad, so mishandled. And that's one reason the CDC is holding back right now. They think they're a PR agency. No, that won't happen again. We now know this is not the Black Plague. We have treatments. We have vaccines. We understand how to handle this. So they put protocols into action, and every person I find, a journalist, Peter Greenberg, people I follow, said the ship did a great job. The staff was well trained, and they did an amazing job. And within a few days, everyone tested negative and no problems whatsoever. But yes, if you do test positive on board, you will be quarantined into your cabin until you test negative. That's the nature of what we're dealing with with cruising. So keep that in mind. Even if you're vaccinated, there is a risk you may test positive, but they will not cancel the sailing or find the nearest port. They're just going to put protocols into action. There is testing on the pier. There's testing on board. Even for the vaccinated cruises, keep that in mind. And they're going to test us before we come back. There's going to be a scheduled time to do that. I haven't heard about that already. I already have in my Celebrity app for Celebrity Edge, I'm going to upload my vaccine card, which I have 2 shots by Pfizer. Thank you very much. And then upload that before I sail, to expedite the check-in process. So just keep in mind that if you do sail, you're in good hands, and put protocols in place. They're going to put them into action to make sure everyone on board is there. And the cruise went on in Celebrity Millennium like clockwork. I'll be on board next week, and I have the best Wi-Fi connection, satellite Wi-Fi. I've been on the years before for her inaugural in 2018. And I know the internet's good, and I have the premium package. So stay tuned. If something happens on board, I'll let you know firsthand. I'll let you know what's happening. So if I get quarantined, oh no, quarantine in my suite. Not the worst thing to happen. And I'll make sure to go live when I'm not taking too much advantage of the premium beverage packet. So cruising's back. Protocols are in place. Let's talk about the destinations that we can go to this summer and this fall, because, it is absolutely a time to travel. Cruises are getting their ducks in a row, getting their cruise lines in place, getting their ships in place. They're canceling some that can't go out. And I'll talk about that in a second, of who's sailing when and who you can sail on right now. First off, my friend, hey, Contessa Luann C on YouTube. Hey, all right, my YouTube channel is cranking it up. Thank you. And thank you, Drew in the Moment, for referring me on live feed in Disney. I got this follower from them. Hey, it's all about sharing on the internet. And Sherry Byers says, Jamaica. Hey, man, not going to Jamaica this cruise, but Jamaica is open for travelers. I had a client that went there in March by air to Sandals Resort. Love Sandals Resort. And cruises are going there. They're open for cruisers. Pretty much all the Caribbean, they're so reliant on tourism. They've opened up the cruisers, but they really want vaccinated passengers on board. And even the governor of St. Lucia, or the Virgin Islands, I believe, reached out to DeSantis and said, hey, give us a break here. Make sure cruises are vaccinated. So please, because they want vaccinated cruisers. But Jamaica, I'll go back there soon. Love it, Sherry. Thank you very much. So where can I travel to? I will say number 1, or top destinations. Drum roll, please. Come on, Sherry. Drum roll, please. All right, thank you, Janice Spivak, for popping on. One of my also loyal fans. Number one, from ports in Florida and Texas. And even though Carnival and Celebrity have said we're sailing with vaccinated passengers and violating the laws of those states, they're going to defer to maritime law and the federal government and say, hey, we're required to have vaccinated passengers. And that's what they're going to do, and they'll fight it out later. It's happening. My cruise is gone. I booked my excursions. I download my e-docs. I have my luggage tags. I'm sailing next Saturday. It's happening. Doesn't matter what the governor's office says. Sorry, work it out later. Easy cruises. I would say the shorter-term cruises haven't been announced yet. We're looking at longer-term cruises. So if you're a short-term cruise aficionado, they don't have the demand for that, the frequency in line yet because they're getting the big ships lined up. So stay tuned probably later in summer. But now, June 26th, every Saturday, Celebrity Edge, the ship I'm sailing on, the retreat right here, book a suite through me. I'll hook you up real well, get you a great deal. And that ship is sailing every Saturday, Eastern Western Caribbean, from Fort Lauderdale, starting the 26th. They haven't canceled a single sailing, and there are cabins available. I'm on a ship like half full because it was a new sailing they just announced just to get ahead of the curve and to get things out there and get the publicity going for later sailings and to get ahead of the July 4th holiday. So, thank you, Janice. Janice said you're welcome. Texas, the port of Galveston near Houston. Big cruise port. Been there myself, sailed the Royal Caribbean ship out of there on the Independence of the Seas after a refurb and hung out with the Royal Caribbean staff. Excellent cruise port, doing more Western Caribbean, not so much Bahamas. Bahamas would be the eastern ports. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral, Jacksonville, I have too much about. But the three big ports, the big three of the biggest ports for passengers in the world, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, right nearby, and Port Canaveral near Orlando, all plan on cruising in Tampa. Tampa has sailings happening too, a smaller port of like 2 berths. So keep that in mind. The other one that's interesting, heard about this today, that's unique. Alaska's allowed. Now, how is that allowed if we have this Passenger Vessel Services Act and the Jones Act I keep talking about, where foreign cruise ships, because they're all foreign flagged, that's how they run their business. They have to stop in a foreign port, but coming back to a U.S. port, they started there, Well, thankfully, the U.S. government, the current administration, did get through Congress and passed a bill that said exempt this year, just for this summer, just for Alaska, you can sail round trip Seattle and violate our normal rules. They put an exemption in place called the Alaska Recovery Act because 3 main ports, Ketchikan, Skagway, and Juneau, rely on tourism, and they had no cruise season last year. What's cool about Alaska is some cruises were booked, but they're going later because they're starting later. So if you want to go a little cooler weather, lower pricing, less people, and maybe see the Northern Lights, which you never see in a cruise ship because they don't start till late September. Cruise season ends mid-September. I think this is a wonderful opportunity that I may take advantage of just to show you guys live streams from up there and show you the Northern Lights live. Hey, cool. Hey, comments are in. Keep the comments coming in. Where do you want to sail this year? This is all about, for cruise-ready travelers, need to know this year. I'm sailing next week. I'm getting pumped up. I'm promoting that cruise because next year we know it's going to be normal. But it's going to take 6 months for these cruise lines to get everything in a row, get their lines up, get their ships in the right places, cancel the sailing that needs to be canceled. You know, where can you go and where do you want to go? Put it in the chat right now. Alaska, very special. Round trip Seattle. Not my ideal Alaska itinerary, but some affordable opportunities and really easy round trip Seattle, not even touching a foreign port on the cruise. This is a good time to go to Alaska and maybe experience the Northern Lights if you go late enough September. Check that out. Usually have to freeze your butt off in the fall in Alaska to experience that. Got some comments coming in. I will punch those up in just a second and I'm going to move on to the next one. Then I'll talk about some comments. West Coast, LA and San Diego. Carnival's a very big West Coast cruise out of Long Beach, Port of San Pedro, right by the Queen Mary. And San Pedro is the port next door for LA. Ironically, one's LA, one's Long Beach. They're right by each other, but that's how it goes in LA. And Carnival's announced they're going to go back in late summer from LA and San Diego. Then San Francisco's going to be doing longer Alaska cruises. Very interesting times in the cruise industry. So they want to hit both coasts. So if you're on the West Coast, I have a lot of fans on the West Coast. Please keep that in mind that you have some really good opportunities coming up soon. And these have been approved by the CDC. I will tell you right now, no matter what the state of Florida says and what their lawsuit says, the cruise lines have already been approved to sail. This recent news yesterday, My ship was already approved May 28th. I booked it the next day. I booked the suite. You heard about that at my show. That was my show. It was that week. It's been approved to sail. CDC is already approving sailings. That's why this whole lawsuit stuff is really moot. It's more about grandstanding. Imagine that in politics. So let's hit the comments real quick because I have one more destination to cover. Then I'll end with an awesome video to get you hyped up for my return to cruising next week and hope you are on that ship too. All right, my diehards are on board. Thank you again, Contessa Louis NC, for the comment. And yes, it's helpful information. I work hard for you guys and I appreciate the comments. And then Janet Spivak. Love Janet. Hey, one of my trivia mavens. And then Odyssey leaving Fort Lauderdale July 31st. Fingers crossed. My agent, Sue Mooney. By the way, thank you, Sue. I forgot my little pitch at the beginning. I'll tell you that right now. All of our shows I do, all of our content is sponsored by Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency, of which I'm an owner. Please support us if you like our show by booking your next vacation, cruise, or land. We are destination vacation specialists, and we specialize in customized travel. And 305-453-9208 for me, or dave@buckowaystrip.com. If you know Sue Mooney or Skip Shear, my other agents, contact them directly or DM me here on wherever you're watching this feed. And Sue is sailing on Odyssey of the Seas. That will probably be the first Odyssey sailing. Now, the Odyssey is very interesting. That made the news too, Sue. The Odyssey had some positive tests on board by crew because they weren't fully vaccinated yet. So they decided to pause 2 weeks to get every crew vaccinated and have that 2-week window of, again, you're not fully vaccinated till 2 weeks after your second shot. Who says that? The CDC. And then all of our travel protocols follow that. If you're going to travel on a vaccinated cruise, very important tip. I forgot to add at the end here. Make sure your final shot of whatever vaccine you're getting, the J&J 1 shot, Pfizer, Moderna 2 shots, is at least 2 weeks prior to that cruise. And make sure your passport's active too within 6 months, at least 6 months. Sue, I can't wait. We're going to do a live feed from your cruise somehow, some way. So cross our fingers. Yes, I believe you will be on the first or second sailing on the Odyssey from Fort Lauderdale. That is a unvaccinated cruise, but you are vaccinated, so you'll be fine. Ooh, Alaska. Yes, Alaska. Great time to sail Alaska this year. Round trip cruise, very easy. Round trip air to Seattle, American Airport. I think that's a home run, so keep that in mind. Yes, Northern Lights. The Northern Lights from a cruise ship never happened before on a mass market cruise. Only on niche little excursions while you're in Alaska, freezing your butt off in the October. But we're expecting this can happen. We've seen Northern Lights in Alaska in September, and they are going a little later this year because they want the season to last longer, making up for almost 2 lost years last cruise season. Very sad. They were hit the hardest of everybody. Hawaii got hit hard, but they shut down manually, voluntarily. Alaska did not shut down. They had the best testing program. I raved about in the fall. Remember those shows, guys? I raved about their testing. You could travel to Alaska in October if you had your testing protocols in place. They were the first destination to have it in airports, and they got burned even by being the best of it because no cruise ship could sail there, mostly because of Canada, not just because of our regulations in the CDC. And she says, hey, she can bundle up. Great attitude. Sherry is ready to travel. She's ready to cruise. I've been telling you guys, if you just join on right now, like this and share it, leave a comment. If the show is on recording, rewind the beginning, and please leave a comment because I go back, follow all the comments, and do respond, and DM me if you have a specific trip request. One more destination to cover, but I covered so far just to review as I get back to my banners. Caribbean, Bahamas, very easy. You can walk to the cruise port from here in Florida and Texas, multiple ports in Florida, Galveston and Texas. Very easy. Those are happening starting June 26th here, Celebrity, July 2nd for Royal Caribbean. And I think July 2nd also Royal Caribbean in Galveston, as far as we know, always subject to change, except for my cruise. Alaska, Sherry's all raving about that. Late season, possible Northern Lights. West Coast for you locals in the West Coast. So actually San Francisco going to Alaska, starting later on the summer, early fall. And yes, Europe is back. Hallelujah. I've been putting off Europe cruises for clients and Europe trips for so long. I am like crazy trying to get my clients to Europe. It's now happening. The EU, the European Union, which provides guidance to all the member 27 countries, which is most of Europe, has said we're open to U.S., guess what? Vaccinated travelers. What a novel idea. get vaccinated, get on a plane, go to Europe. They need our support too. Cruises have been happening in Europe since last October. MSC, a cruise line based in Genoa, an Italian company, shipping company, now builds and ships cruise lines, sails cruise lines. They have been sailing all summer very successfully, last summer into this fall. And now U.S.-based cruise lines will be sailing there too with North American passengers. So keep that in mind. Some great deals happening for Europe, and probably say closer to late summer as they get their protocols in place, and then into the fall. And there's not much Europe cruise season in the wintertime, unless you be like Sherry and bundle up. And my closing tip is get vaccinated. I know if you don't want to travel, that's fine. If you have something against a person or politically, I can appreciate that. But listen, this is the nature of travel. This is the future of travel. I talked about it in Eric Bowman's Travel Pulse podcast. I've had sitting in my desk in my passport a yellow fever vaccination card since 2006. That was required for me to go on safari. That's not niche. That's a requirement to go on safari in Africa in any country. And this is what's required right now. There's some exceptions with the states in the U.S. because that's how they feel. That's fine. But for international travel, this is how it's going to be. And just get vaccinated. It'll make your travel less costly and easier. I'm trying to save you guys money here and save you headaches. Imagine getting back to travel like how it used to be a year ago. Oh, take that back, a year and a half ago. Well, I'm going to have that next week. You know why? Because I'm a vaccinated traveler going on a 90% option 1 CSO, conditional sailor option cruise. And I'm going to show you guys live exactly for real. Not going to hold back. Be very candid with you guys. The exact experience. Plan to go live every day. We'll do the show on Sunday, probably my second day. Probably getting warmed up for the cruise. And then probably just do check-ins with you guys whenever I can. Makes sense. The best Wi-Fi will be on the cruise ship. So, but when I go on shore, I'll probably take recordings and show them on the cruise ship. We'll see. Haven't planned it out yet. We'll test the Wi-Fi when I get on board. But stay tuned. It's going to be great. And Sherry says, yes, she can't wait to travel. I'm ready to cruise. Hope you're ready to cruise. And keep in mind as we close out the show, now when I'm on board, I'm going to have my famous bartenders there. Yes, it was very popular. And I had to show it one more time. Martini bartenders, some Celebrity Edge. They'll be serving up drinks for me free next week because I have the premium beverage package because I booked the Sky Suite and I'm all included with all the best perks. Pick your perk. No, they're all included. And check it out right now. I'll be showing you these guys live next week from on board the Celebrity Edge. It's the Martini Bar, guys. And I got such rave review of this video, I had to show it one more time. Well, that'll be me next week at Martini Bar. Sherry, thanks for the shout out. Thank you guys for being here. Again, follow our social media, like us, support us where you can. Leave a comment. I'll go back and check it. Today's show has been about I'm ready to cruise, all the need to know for cruise ready travelers. Check it out in recording. We'll see you next week live from Celebrity Edge right here in the retreat. We'll see you then, folks. Have a fantastic Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day, Dad.